and your form is bad, and our joints aren't aligned, and the ground is wonky, and we're pulling like this, and then we're pressing up, the weight won't come up. Okay, let's talk about some common bench mistakes and fix them right now. Now, for most of you guys that are watching, you're not powerlifters, and I'm not coaching this technique for powerlifters, so if you're a powerlifter, skip this. Let's make sure that we are well grounded. I'm always gonna coach everything from floor to core. Common mistakes happen from the floor, and then they send a chain reaction all the way up to your technique, and it sends it off into some wonky world of terrible benching. So, a couple things. When we are benching, when we're on our bench, we wanna make sure that we have, number one, if your feet can't touch the floor, completely fine. Go get a plate or a riser or something to make sure that we can get our feet on the floor so we have a good foundation. I like to look at it as I should be able to squat, stand up and sit down like a squat fairly easily. If my feet are too far behind or they're too far in front, I can't really do anything. And why I'm saying that is because when we are benching, we're actually gonna be pushing from the floor. This entire lift starts from here and then comes all the way up and set through the hands. So I'm positioned on the bench, I'm set myself back. I'm gonna position myself again to make sure that my feet are on the ground. If you have a little bit arch your back, that's fine. We just wanna make sure that we are engaging our core when we're lifting. We don't want this to be disengaged like this because again, even though we're sitting on our back in a prone position, we're still gonna have tension on our lower back if we don't engage our core. Remember, I'm pushing from the floor and then I have weight coming down from my hands. And that's gonna compress my spine if I'm not engaging my core. So, our feet are positioned, our core is engaged. Now, where do I wanna grab this bar? Well, a few things. We don't wanna go overly wide. I don't wanna be overly too narrow. Now, there's nothing wrong with benching in narrow. We call it like a biochromial grip or just shoulder width apart, which most of you would look at that as like narrow grip or close grip. There's no problem with that. If we're going close grip, we're gonna avoid a little bit of, shoulder injury. The wider we go, the more that can happen. Now, it's not always gonna happen, but if we're too wide and our form isn't good, we're putting ourselves in a very vulnerable position. So have a happy medium. Be a little bit outside shoulder width apart, and you can use these markers. For me, I like to have my pinky or my ring finger on the little smooth part here. And most benches have these little markers. You have the grip and then the smooth, I call it. So I like to have my ring finger or pinky, depending on the bar, on the smooth. And that's gonna make sure my hands are equal on both sides. Now, I'm too close to this and I wanna be down a little bit, which is fine. So I'm gonna push myself down a little bit. That's gonna get me a lot much more tighter from the feet. So now from here, I'm pressing from the floor. I'm actually engaging my core, I'm pushing through, and that's gonna help make sure my butt doesn't come off. If it's too far, my butt can come off the bench. That's why we wanna keep our feet a little bit under our knees. And tighten the core. So while we grab the bar, we wanna make sure that our shoulders are back and away from our ears, right? So I'm gonna do this little bit of a movement from back and away from the ears. That's gonna push my chest up, it's gonna activate my lats. That's gonna pull my shoulders into place where they're not riding up. We wanna avoid having the bar here and then we're in our shoulders or in our neck like this. And then we're pushing like this, and then the bar you sometimes see is coming here, or it's coming here, then it's up here, or here, then we're up here, or sometimes too far down here, and this happens all the time. And some of you guys are watching probably do this and are guilty of this, which is totally fine because we're gonna correct this right now, so don't worry. To avoid that, we wanna set the shoulders. Grab the bar, shoulders back and away from my ears, we'll lock it in. Right now, I feel my shoulder blades locked in and pushing on the back of the bench. So if I sat like this and tried to roll, I can't. If my shoulders are rolled, now I can roll on the bench. I want to avoid rolling on the bench, so we want to be in this position where our shoulders are back and away from our ears, and now my back, my scapulas are flat on the bench, and it can't roll. I am one with the bench.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna grab the bar, roll it close to me. I'm gonna push it up a bit, and then I'm gonna pull it right down so it's over my chest. Remember, we're gonna work with gravity. The bar pathway is gonna come down and press back up. Now, I say a couple things all the time in videos. We're gonna stack the joints. What does stack the joints mean? It doesn't mean smoking weed. It means literally making sure the fist, wrist, and elbow are under the bar. And that's gonna give you a good line or a good bar pathway. We see a little bit of this too much and the bar kind of comes and does this, or too far in front and we're doing this and we have this flaring thing that happens. And this right now is putting a lot of pressure on my shoulder and it doesn't feel healthy whatsoever. So we wanna make sure that our fists, wrists, and elbows are under the bar. So when we push, we're strong on the way up. And then every time we press, and I have no weight on, it stays in the same place. Pretend you're trying to bend the bar this way and this way. So when I'm up here, and I've rolled my shoulders back over my ears, the bar's here, if you see my shoulders are kind of flare, I'm going to try and bend the bar a little bit. That's gonna get my elbows aligned with the bar, so when I break at the elbows, it stays under the bar. So, pinkies on the ring fingers on the smooth, shoulders back away from my ears, pressing the weight up, pulling it over my chest, and then I'm gonna take a deep breath in, and then press. I'm gonna control the weight down and press. And we can go all the way down to the chest. And then pressing up. Now I recommend doing it this slow, and I don't have any weight on the bar, but it doesn't matter how much I put on, I'm going to make sure that this tempo and range of motion stays consistent. So if you're using a weight that contradicts your form, toss the ego away and start all over. There's nothing wrong with going a little lighter first. What that's going to do is get you stronger from a great range of motion, so that when you do add weight and you progressive overload, you have a solid foundation that's already strong. You don't want to load on dysfunction. What loading on dysfunction means is adding weight to a unstable base. Think of like a foundation to a home. And you decide to build your home and you cheap out on the foundation and the framework. And then you decide to put on some beautiful roof. What happens in the first storm? Your house crumbles. Same thing here. If you decide to load in dysfunction and you're just picking the weight up and your form is bad and our joints aren't aligned and the ground is wonky and we're pulling like this and then we're pressing up, the weight won't come up. I always say to all my athletes that I train with, the only way this is going to come up is the proper way. So make sure that from floor to core, my feet are planted, my glutes are engaged, my core is engaged, my shoulders are backing away from my ears. I'm grabbing the bar, pushing it up, pulling it over to positioning, pausing for a second, lowering the weight, making sure the joints are stacked, fists, wrists, and elbows are under the bar. Deep breath in, and pressing. Controlling it again, down, and press. Anyway, so to wrap things up, go to the ego. Take the time to learn proper form. Remember, you want to load on dysfunction. The healthier we can be, the longer we can continue to make those gains. If you injure yourself, you're no good to anybody. That's what my coach used to say, basically. If I cannot play, then I'm no good to playing. If I cannot lift, then I cannot get to my goals. So take the time to learn proper form. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. And you guys know what it is. Iron sharpens iron, progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.